Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar on how to navigate the SharePoint migration minefield. Today, we will learn what is a common cause of data going missing due to a migration, how you can avoid losing data in this way, and what can you do to keep the cost of a migration down. Typically in IT, complaining users, especially those that are help desk frequent flyers, can be the bane of your existence. You have data migration on top of all of your usual time crunching responsibilities that keep you at work late on the weekends and over holidays. Look at an IT manager, sysadmin, network admin. Few things are more embarrassing to those particular positions than downtime or lost data on your watch. What is the one cause of missing data that is most commonly overlooked will be presented today, and that's one of the things that I think you'll find great value in. Between users and hackers, you have enough to deal with, so let's not add to it. Okay, my name is Paul Kuva. I'm the Executive Vice President here at LinkTek. Notice I said I'm the Executive Vice President, but I do have a co-Executive Vice President who will be introduced later in the webinar. I can be a great resource for you here, so you can always connect with me. Today's host will be Mr. Salvatore Salamone. He is a technology executive bringing over 30 years experience. He has authored probably thousands of articles and papers on technology, a few of them being specifically on LinkTek technology. Sal and I have enjoyed a relationship from when, for about 10 years, where he originally authored one of the white papers for LinkTek, and he also did a technology brief, which are included in your chat section on your toolbar. You can download those as well. Sal has over 30,000 followers on social media, and I think you'll find him quite insightful. And without further ado, I want to turn the webinar over to Sal.
Oh, thanks, Paul. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. As Paul mentioned, I've got a long relationship with LinkTek. It's over 10 years. When I first encountered them, I was very interested in what they were doing. The technology is very exciting. It's what I liked a lot about it. It's very easy to use and very useful, which you don't get that combination that often in the industry these days. So as he mentioned, I wrote a couple of papers. You can go to the handout section of the sidebar and get those if you like. And then, so why don't we just get started on why are we here today? And I think the topic today is about navigating the SharePoint data migration minefield. And some of the points we're going to cover and address are how to reduce help desk traffic and end user complaints, avoid losing data due to the migration itself, and how to keep the costs of the project down. So where does LinkTek fit in? Well, if you're not familiar, they have your links automatically fixed or moved when you move data around. So it automatically helps you maintain the links, the connections, in any type of migration or data move. It's incredibly useful, and I don't know if you've done this at all. Even with a small amount of data, it can consume a very large amount of time and cause many problems with the broken links. So to help us navigate the topic today, I'd like to introduce our two guests, our two speakers. So first, I'd like to bring in Oscar Albanez. He's the Executive Vice President here at LinkTek. Hi, Oscar.
Hello,
how
guys.
are you?
Co-Executive Vice President, right?
Co-Executive Vice President. And then we also have Aaron Smith, who's VP of Technology. Aaron and Oscar both have been with the company from the start. They live and breed and eat links. That's all they do. They do work, but this is their specialty. When you hear them talk about it, they're enthused. They really know what the market. So with that, I'd like to turn this over now to Aaron to start. And before we go, I'd like to make sure that this is an interactive presentation. Throughout the webinar, send us your questions in the chat box on your sidebar, and we'll answer them on the fly. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Aaron.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Sal. Hi, everybody. And that chat feature, you'll be typing them in. You don't have to worry about noise. You won't be talking. Just type in any questions that you have, and somebody will get back to you quickly. We've got somebody manning the chat. We've got an expert, a LinkFixer expert manning the chat, and a migration expert, all in the same person. So, the main points today are, we're talking about migrations, and we'll talk about migrations. We'll talk about how our software, LinkFixer Advanced, can help with certain critical aspects of migrations, and we'll also, Oscar and I and Paul can talk about the experiences that we've had in the 19 or so years that we've been doing this. That LinkTek has been fixing folks' links with LinkFixer. All those little things that you find that people keep getting wrong, and things that just hold down those migrations and keep them from being great or being successful or succeeding on time. One of the big things is just, and this is of course our specialty, as Sal said, links. Avoiding data loss due to missing links, avoiding wasted time, money, deadline problems because your links are broken unexpectedly. And surprises are bad. Surprises are great on birthdays and Christmas, and they're bad the rest of the year. So that's one of the things that LinkFixer helps you with, is removing uncertainty and surprises and warning you about problems well before they come to a head. And so that's fine. We'll talk about that. Linking, fixing your links manually is just unrealistic. As in, one big point there is, well, why do you need to fix your links? Because there's so many files these days with so many links, an Excel spreadsheet linking to 50 other Excel spreadsheets, and then hundreds and hundreds and thousands of those in one department in a company, in an organization. And these things just grow and grow and grow. Nobody ever goes through their files and goes, let's link less, right? It's not the direction things go in, right? So we help with that. That's where Oscar and I and the rest of the team here, and Paul, have been. That's what we've been digging into for these last almost 2 decades. And it's good that somebody's doing it, because there's so much depth there, and there's so many things to continually improve. We'll talk about some of those today. So, I mean, that's about it for like the main topics and what we'll cover. So what Oscar and I are going to do is, first we'll talk about some of the things we've learned over the years that are just general migration, and particularly SharePoint migration tips. If you're already a SharePoint migration expert, you'll certainly benefit from LinkFixer Advanced, and I'll show you a little bit of that at the end. If you have any migrations in your future that you have to be a part of, then I hope that you get something out of our tips as well. But whether your migrations are gigantic, or firms that multinationals on multiple continents, or whether they're medium or small business migrations, you guys all face more or less the similar problems at different scales, and even the smallest organizations have serious challenges regarding migrations. So for me, it's about great tools and preparation, right? So what I've really found over the years is, if you prepare and you do about a half a dozen things right, things go massively better, right, Oscar? I mean,
absolutely. It's all about preparation, really. I mean, preparation is just so key. Thing with migrations is not only a matter of I mean, nowadays we're preparing a lot more for your migrations, but even then, what do you have? You have a weekend at best to do your entire migration. You want to get everything right in a couple of days, Holidays are great. I mean, Thanksgiving is coming, that's going to be migration city for a lot of people.
We're going to be busy here.
Absolutely. But it's one of those things that you have to prepare it so well, because you have to get it done when your users are at home. They have to come back, and the migration has to be done and seamlessly, like nothing happened. Everything has to work, and it's just not the case. This thing just doesn't happen. We just have tons and tons of calls every single week. You don't even measure it by month anymore. You measure it by week. How many calls we get every week? People with disasters and migrations that they need to finish immediately. it's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
I couldn't even think of a migration done without any piece of software.
Yep.
Right.
Oscar,
And
I'd like
even in a small
to
company.
speak to that point real quick. We see often the data migration professionals or the data migrations that have gone off the rails. So they didn't know, they weren't predicting the level of broken links that they were going to encounter, and they need to solve it. And we see some of the migrations that have largely been train wrecks, and they're calling up in a panic for a solution. So what we're trying to do is to educate and bring value to migration professionals in such a way that it doesn't happen to them. They're not put in an embarrassing spot, put into an embarrassing spot that compromises their professional integrity or cast shade on them in any way. And I think Aaron is going to speak to that point.
That's a good point, Paul, because not everybody doing a migration is doing migrations all year, every year. There are firms and departments in organizations that specialize in migrations and stuff. And there are clients and our users. But also you have guys that are just like, look, a small business, somewhere between 10 and 200 people maybe. And the guy that's doing the migration for them, oftentimes this is the first and last migration he's probably ever going to do for them. So you don't really have time to have 4 bad migrations and then one spectacular one that they were all kind of building towards, right? So, I mean, the best thing you can do there are, and it sounds a little airy-fairy, but one of the things you can do there is kind of take care of yourself, is give yourself enough time to do it right. Get some help. And what I mean by that is, and I've seen this, Oscar and I have seen this so many times, Paul's seen it, is don't do it alone. Get the right people to help you, make sure everybody knows their role. That's critical, like people agreeing on who's going to do what. Make sure your management is actually, vested in what you're doing and that the users are involved. If you involve these people early, in my experience, things just go a lot better. These people give you more help because you involve them and for various reasons, right? But you need help. When you're doing your migrations, unless this is something you do all the time, small bites, right? You want to have, if you can cut your migration up into pieces, discrete pieces, you want to do the small ones first. Make your mistakes on when the stakes are low, give yourself realistic deadlines, Oscar, right? I mean, how often have we been, worked with someone who just had a deadline that wasn't coming from them, it was coming from someone else. And honestly, I think if they'd involved those people earlier, oftentimes they wouldn't have given them deadlines that were unrealistic, right?
Unfortunately, it's probably the majority. It's probably the majority of the times where, the deadline's not even theirs, it's somebody else's that usually doesn't even have an idea of how much data they're going to be dealing with,
Yeah. So many of the ways I've seen that we can help or that people can improve their migrations, their outcomes are human factors, right?
Yeah.
And it sounds like, well, obvious, but I can tell you, it's not obvious to everybody because people keep running into these same kinds of problems over and over. And maybe not the same person, but the thing is if that guy's doing his first and his last migration, then it doesn't matter how much he learns because he's not doing the next one. Somebody else is going to have to do the next one. So anyway, we've got kind of that continuity here because for almost 20 years, we've had folks coming to us for help with their migrations. And so some of the things you can do that are a little broader are like, look, not just like giving yourself enough room, but do the research, gather data. I'm going to show you today how LinkFixer can help you gather data. Write things down, get your plan in writing, share it with people. That's another way to get people involved. And also, if it's in writing, things just go better, frankly. Now, with that said, if you're going to put your plan in writing, you're going to share it with people. I'm not saying send it to everybody in the organization. I'm saying really what we've found works the best is to share it. Depends on your organization, depends on your situation. But if you've got a migration plan, share it with somebody you trust. Start there, get some feedback, roll that into the plan, take their feedback, roll it in. Then go, you've got that, you've made it better. Now read it, send it out to some other people, get some more feedback, gradual, organic, and in this way, you don't get overwhelmed with like feedback from people, duplicate feedback. 50 people come and say, oh, you did this one thing wrong or do this better. Well, that's obvious. If you just asked one person, they would have told you that too. So ask one guy and then ask 2 guys and just trying to slowly grow that and take your time when possible, right? And all these things kind of feed together in a good way. Our approach here is a critical thing, or our contribution is one of like automation and tools and giving you business and file and link intelligence, information, data, and also helping you with your migrations. We're also bringing some experience because maybe you haven't had 6 migrations already and you're doing number 7. So we bring some of that as well. But our tool, LinkFixer Advanced, really takes the time out of aspects of this that are just completely, utterly unrealistic to do manually or usually or often any other way. And I think the best tools for something like this, they give you the data you need and they help you remove, reduce, avoid surprises. You don't want surprises, like I said earlier. We want to, you know, our software helps you look around corners so you can really know what's coming up. Another important thing that people, you know, we've seen it. I don't know. It's kind of unavoidable, but sometimes. But really, if you're moving to a new system, it's a really good idea to train your users beforehand on that new system. That sounds like probably the most ridiculous of my tips, but it's based on experience. I mean, I've seen entire companies moving to systems they haven't tested.
And it's getting worse.
That's not the norm.
It's getting worse. You know, it's getting worse now because a lot of people are choosing, for example, SharePoint.
Right.
SharePoint is
exactly.
It's like the destination nowadays.
Yeah.
There's so many companies going to this brand new, completely different animal. That's SharePoint. It's useful. It's great. You know, I mean, for sharing, for cloud solutions, it's one of the best things out there. But completely different animal. I mean, you're not dealing with files and shares in your server. I mean, this is cloud. This is HTTP. This is just a whole different thing. You know, and something something like links, which used to work a certain way, just work completely different now.
Yeah.
So it's just education, training, and seeing how it works. It's very, very important. I mean, Sal, I mean, you can say, I mean, how many people are going to SharePoint nowadays? Isn't SharePoint something huge now?
Yeah. Now it's growth. Use is growing, and a combination people that have not used it before and are moving to it to support some type of big digital, effort in the company, and now moving from older versions to new, so still requiring a migration where the new has, modern interface, cloud features, different benefits why they'd be doing that. And in both cases, you need this type of help to handle getting the data in place and not breaking links.
That's a good point, Sal. Aaron, to your point, Aaron, when you said it, we bring experience, or in today's environment, you need to have some type of experience. And we have been helping professionals around the globe for since 2000. And we help them mitigate potential surprises. What's the motto of Boy Scouts? Be prepared, right?
Yeah.
And often, there's different file types that have to be accounted for. For instance, Excel, Access, Word, PowerPoint, Adobe products, InDesign, PageMaker, whatever it might be, HTML links, Windows shortcuts. They all have to be accounted for as links, and they're often forgotten. And what ends up happening, kind of like a Forrest Gump kind of a thing, it's your post-migration data is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get until the end users attempt to open it up.
Let's lean on the gum.
And it's, to lean on Forrest over there. But that's just kind of the way it is, It's like, and like I said, the way Forrest Gump likes shrimp, we like links here at LinkTek. I mean, you have Excel links, but there's all the different version types of Excel. Access links, all the different version types. And if every version type is not accounted for, you end up with missing data. So I know Oscar hears it because he's at the level where when problems make their way to our desk, it's typically some kind of blow up on some major companies' lines and stuff like that. Yeah. And you may have some fancy IT professional who's like, I'll write a script to handle these links. Okay, good.
That never really worked out.
Yeah, we've developed a software since 2000 handling Fortune size migrations and every possible problem and caveat of version types for years now. And we've taken all that collective data and boiled it down into the tool that Aaron is going to present to you today.
Fantastic. Thanks, Paul. Yeah. And we'll never really be done. I mean, it took us 19 years to become an overnight success, and we're still working on improving our speed, our feature set. Every single day, we're looking at, all right, look, what have we improved recently? What, what do we really need to do next to help the greatest number of people? And because I'm in the development area, and that's our focus is, fulfilling user needs, predicting their needs, understanding their needs, and working with them and finding the right solutions to these things. And with people going to SharePoint, and again, we're leaning on SharePoint because so many people are going there, but people use our software to go not just to SharePoint, but your links for anything. And we'll talk about that a little bit later and how it doesn't really matter what you're going to. And LinkFixer can still help you with that. Now, the thing is when you're doing your migrations and you're preparing for your migrations, you really, I think probably, and a nice point to end on is probably the most important thing to do is to define success for that migration, right? I mean, for some folks, a migration of X% of the files made it over, that's pretty good. For other people, it's different. Some people might need perfection and they need it by Monday at 7 a.m. It's really important to me that my client, my end user's definition of success matches his boss's definition of success, right? So I think that's my closing tip. We've got all kinds of other things we'll probably share in a future webinar and in this vein, but that's it. I mean, what's your definition of success? And if you don't reach that, do you have a parachute for your project? Is everything ready? So if your first stab at your migration on Monday doesn't work, everybody's not running up and running on Monday after the holiday or the weekend, long weekend. Are you actually ready to be able to use the old ones, or have you left things in a state where not only did your migration not finish, but your users can't even work with the old stuff? Please avoid that. That really happens. It depends on what you're doing, where you're going from and to, and what your situation is. So think about that, and it's nice to not really go all in, but to have a good, real plan, and including what your users are going to do on Monday if things don't go as planned the first time. So anyway, we'll help you with your migrations, and regardless of what system you're going to, and what I'm going to show you next is something that's relevant regardless of basically the nature of your migration. If you're moving files around, whether it's to a share to share, or you're moving your files, to the cloud, to SharePoint, to some other systems, or moving them around in the cloud, whatever you're doing, the stuff I'm going to show you next is relevant. And this is LinkFixer Advanced, the software, our software product to help with enterprise migrations of any size, small to, huge.
That's a good point, Aaron. That's a good point. I wanted to add, they don't even have to be moving somewhere. It could just simply be a server restructure.
Yeah.
They could just be renaming things around, changing server letters, drive letters, things of that nature. I mean, these things, you don't even have to be moving files, and these things will still break your links. So the solution we're about to see is very important to any kind of those, any kind of movement or restructure.
Absolutely. Thanks, Oscar. So I'm going to take screen control now, Paul.
Sure.
All right, here we are. So the most important 3 words with in LinkFixer to define are parent file, terms, parent file, child file, and link. So what you have are Word docs, Excel spreadsheets, PDF files, whatever, and they link to each other in various ways. Sometimes something's embedded with a link. Sometimes they just point to another one. You click on a hyperlink and it opens that other file. You've got an image in one file, or really in many files. Those, if a file links to another file, it's a parent file to us. And if a file is linked to by another file, it's a child file. So that's parent files and child files. Very simple, but it's basic. It's important. And then you've got links, the things that connect them. And there's various different ways they can be connected. There's a dizzying number of ways different files can be connected to, linked to other files. So what I'm going to show you today is how LinkFixer can truly automatically protect your links from breaking, and I'll show you how that works and the approach we take, and it'll just kind of it'll develop. It'll be pretty obvious. So when you first start LinkFixer Advanced, there's this page for new folks that they can read, and it tells them a lot of the things I just talked about and a little bit more, and talks about different file types, because as Paul said, or I think earlier, the number of file types that we've added support for in these 19 years, it's just been continuous improvement. So we support a huge array of file types, and you can see them here. Yeah, Paul.
I'd like to weigh in for a second here. Sure. So when it comes to file types, we have Excel, Access, Word, PowerPoint, Visio, OneNote,
Sure.
Windows shortcuts, Adobe Acrobat, InDesign, PageMaker, HTML, AutoCAD, MicroStation, and it goes on. So we've accounted for them, plus we've accounted for individual versions for those file types, which is unheard of when you actually confront your migration and all of the associated links. That is where the data ends up missing, and we find folks in a panic. So I'm glad you mentioned that, Eric.
The problem is like I said earlier, surprises are not good. They're bad.
Not uncommon.
But they're common, right? And surprises cost money, they cost jobs, they cost, they have a negative cost, right? Excuse me. So let me show you here. I'm going to close this up by hitting start using LinkFixer Advanced. So here's what LinkFixer Advanced does. I'm going to tell you this, and then I'm going to show it to you. What it does is it prepares your links, it protects them, and we call that inoculate or inoculation. What that does is it makes it so all your links have something like SharePoint's durable link in them, but it's not limited to SharePoint, and it's way better than SharePoint's durable links because it's not limited to SharePoint, and it's not limited to one SharePoint site either. So these things just survive. So you inoculate your files beforehand. We do that. It's automatic. You'll see it. Then what you do is whatever you want with those files. You restructure them, like Oscar mentioned. Move your directories around, move your files around, rename your files. I mean, that's crazy. And even if you rename these files, we will still find them automatically. It's totally wild, and it took decades to get it to the point where we're at today, and it's at an amazing point right now. So what you do is first you inoculate your files, you do your moving of them. We can also help you with moving. We have other operations like our move rename feature, which can move your files around, put them in cloud products like SharePoint. But today we're just going to talk about inoculating, and then you migrate them any way you want. And then our cure step is the fully automatic, basically single click repair of those protected inoculated links, and we'll go over that. So I'm going to go to inoculate. So what I want to do here is, I'm going to select. We've got some samples here, Excel sample files, some Word sample files, and this just works left to right. It's like a wizard. So the next thing is select your files. Which files you want this to run on? I'm going to have this process all the files in those folders, but I'm going to show you guys that you can also say, well, you know what? If your company's just moving or just wants to, just migrating certain file types and they're leaving old ones behind, because maybe you're separating two departments that used to be together or something, right? So whatever. It shows you can turn off certain file types you don't want to deal with. And this gives you an idea of our major file type support. Each of these, as Paul mentioned, a lot of these have tons of sub versions. I mean, geez, just the number of Acrobat versions is crazy. People don't usually have to deal with it, but there's tons of Acrobat versions too, PDFs. So I'm going to go back up here to process all files. And next I'm going to go to links and okay, which links do I want it to run? Well, everything, but you can also limit that if you wanted to. And sometimes you have a need to, that's fine. And then cool, so we'll do all that. Now the next thing is preview. Besides the fact that LinkFixer actually does the job it's supposed to, preview is my favorite thing. So I'm going to hit preview. Preview is all about showing you what's really going to happen. Facts, business intelligence, if you will, file intelligence, link intelligence, what is going on, what files need to be inoculated or protected, all that stuff. So let's look at this. Here's a file. This blue line is a file. This docx, cool. Beforehand, it's not protected. It hasn't been inoculated. After the inoculation is done, it's going to be inoculated. It's not going to change its path in this case. Now here's a file with a relative path, just enough path info to hopefully get you from that Word doc to that PNG graphics file. Cool, okay, fine. Yada, 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 more of these. Wonderful. You really see, okay, this is what's going to happen. But for me, this isn't quite enough. This is enough for the program to do its job, and it's fantastic, but I want to know where these files are. I want to know a little bit about where these relative pathed files are. So I'm going to actually tell LinkFixer to do me a favor. I'm going to go up here to our menu. I'm going to go down to settings. I'm going to go to inoculate, because that's the action I'm going to perform. And I'm going to say, listen, force my links to absolute, change them. Go back to home, jump over to inoculate, go back to preview. And this time it's going to be even better. It has everything it had before, but now it's going to show me the full path that it's going to add to these that have relative paths. These guys up here, they already had full paths, so there's nothing to change. And that's so obvious. And that's the thing. Great tools give you the information you need when you need the information. They don't waste your time with unnecessary information. And if they give you the information at the wrong time, what the heck's the point of them giving it to you? I need this information before I do my processes. So now I'm going to hit that. This is your final check on which folders, which directories it's going to run on. And I'm just running on these two. And you say run. Now, backups are important. We always can, we'll pop this up and say, make sure you got backups. I totally have backups. So I'm going to say, okay, it runs. Now, this is enterprise grade software. It's designed to run on terabytes of files at a time. Whatever you got, it can take it. So it's going to be done running this small set of files before I'm even done. And it's done. So I wasn't even done describing it, but in the 9 seconds that it ran, it was processing files, processing links at a rate of 736 links a minute. It processed over here on the right, you can see that it ran how many files? 43 files. Over here under links, we get a breakdown there too. Those 43 files had 64 links, and it inoculated them. It protected them against breaking. Now, that doesn't mean they can't break. I know I just said that, but it doesn't. What it means is they can, with one run of the cure process, no matter where those files have been put and what they've been renamed, the links can be automatically fixed. So it's done. Now we also, transparency and providing information and making that information available in the right places is so important, like I said. So over here under summary, this is our PDF report, which is a summary report of what we did. This just tells us about the job, which was an inoculate job, right? And down here it says these are the folders that it ran on. Cool. It, at my request, made absolute paths out of things. I want that. You don't have to do that, but it's good for me as a human trying to deal with this huge amount of information, right? In a real migration. So we got some summary data up there, and down here you have more details about the specific files. It has even a link to each file when they work. When to the copy of the file in its actual location. There's no point in putting a link to it in in its old location. Now this guy here also shows me the modify time. We make sure we honor that modify time. We don't change the modification timestamp of your files to the time you ran the job, because that's bad for 99% of our users. So working my way down. So we got details. If you need detail, you got it. You want to search through this for info on a certain file and make sure it ran, great. Also here it tells you about which types of links were run. Parent files, and these are the child file types that they link to. So I got, from a docx, linking to a docx, I had 5 of those. 64 total links are all accounted for. This is also useful if you need to provide this to certain stakeholders in your organization and go, look, this is your link snapshot, right? And speaking of which, Oscar, we also have, and maybe this is a good time to mention, the link reporter tool, which is.
I was gonna chime in. Yeah, after you showed right after you showed this table, I was going to chime in. I mean, this report is very important. Not only that course comes with your LinkFixer Advanced, but even if you didn't own LinkFixer Advanced, we have a tool called Link Reporter, which you can actually just you can just download it from our site, and it's free of charge. It'll just work, and it'll give you these types of reports. You can run Link Reporter on your entire data set, and it'll give you a report like this, and even details. And it'll tell you things like, how many files you're about to deal with, how many links are in those files. That way you'll have some idea of what you're dealing with, what you're about to be dealing with,
Yeah.
You just don't know. A lot of folks just do their migration and then they realize, okay, what about links? What's the solution on links? And you don't realize till they're broken. And that's where missing data comes from. That's where you experience lost data. Running these reports before you do a migration, it's just life changing. It'll tell you exactly what you're about to do. And LinkFixer Advanced gives you the report. You can get a trial and do these things, or you can get Link Reporter and then do a full report of your entire data set before you do your migration itself.
Fantastic. Once you use a tool like LinkFixer Advanced, once you use one of those on a migration, you'll never want to do a migration in the blind again, right?
No,
I mean,
absolutely not.
That's kind of my takeaway from that. And Link Reporter is fantastic for giving you that initial insight into your links and reporting. So I'll close this PDF. We also create CSV, basically Excel spreadsheets, reports of tons of more detail, which can be helpful when you're looking into stuff. It's a huge amount of data because we want to provide the data, but get it out of your face. It's available, and incredible reporting, incredible logging, and but we try to have some, we pay a lot of attention to fine tuning exactly where we spend your attention and time. So anyway, that's that. Now I'm gonna go do my micro migration. I'm just gonna hop over here into what I use for file management. This is not File Manager in Windows Explorer, but you got to use the best tools, right? Use LinkFixer Advanced. You got to use the best file manager too. So I use Directory Opus. Come in here, and my migration is really just going to be going, okay, here are these samples. The ones that I ran were the Excel spreadsheet directory and the Word stuff. And I'm moving these to my T drive, just some share on the network here. Drag it over, say move. Underneath there are also a bunch of, there's a lot of related files in here. So you've got, Word docs and images and stuff that are linked to them. So what I'll do is I'll open one of these guys and I'm gonna show you some broken hyperlinks. So here we go down. By the way, even that image is broken. If you try to go into it and edit it, that's just a protection thing.
You want to bring the document, Aaron, to the screen.
Oh, you know what? Let me show you. Sorry about that. Got 3 screens. So here we are. This guy is, this is that doc. Even this guy is only going to work for a little while because he's actually broken. As you can see, he's pointing back to, someone that doesn't exist anymore because I've migrated. If I float over, you can see he's still pointing at my old location. But so that is a hidden thing that'll work for a little while until it doesn't, which is even worse than something that breaks right up front. Way worse because surprises are bad. Now these guys are, you can see immediately that they're broken. They're pointing to the old location, and if I click on them, there's no way to get to these links. These links work great beforehand, and after I cure these files, these links will all work as well. And this guy will be actually corrected as well. So I'm going to close this. No changing. I didn't make any changes to it. So I'm going to hop back over to LinkFixer Advanced. Thanks for the heads up on the wrong monitor, Oscar. I was just going along fine. So I'm going to go back home, and here I'm going to go to cure. Cure is super, super simple. You come in here, you got to select your folders. Like, where are my files now? Well, in my case, they're on my T drive. I'll just unselect that. I'll go down to migration target. That's where I put my stuff. It automatically does the loose files in there and all the subfolders. You can see all that, getting all those guys. Go to select files, and you can still pick your file types that you want to deal with, but I'm just going to cure everything, no worries. Select your links. Now preview for cure is just a thing of beauty.
That's my favorite preview. Absolutely.
I mean, a preview is great. Inoculate preview is helpful. This preview is fantastic. I'm going to hit it. This is going to show me exactly what it takes to fix these links. It's crazy. And I'm not telling this program where these files are, except look, they're all on the T drive in that folder. Could just be on the T drive anywhere. I know where they are, so I limited it. I didn't tell it how to fix these things. It knows that because it went and found these, the preview went and found these files. It goes, look, this guy's here. And it knows because it found the unique ID that Inoculate put into those files and that it saved in every link to them in the inoculated parent files. Just found them. It's just, none of this matters. It's just magic. So
Yeah.
this is showing me everything. It's broken now. I can see its current state. It's going to be cured when it's done, and this is the exact change you needed to do it. This is what's wrong. This is what's right. It's removing uncertainty. It's removing and answering questions, and it's just perfect. So you go
It's
to process
also a great
files.
solution. Just to chime in, just real quick. This
Yeah.
is kind of funny, but it's very useful. Say you don't know where you're putting your files. That's a great tool to tell you whether you put your files in the right place or not. You know,
Yeah.
it's about to cure. It's about to do this. Oh, that's not where they're supposed to be. You can always move them from
Right.
somewhere else.
That's absolutely right. And
Perfect thought.
look, and it's done. It cured links at a rate of 916 links per minute, and that's just getting started. This thing is enterprise class
Wow.
software that fires up enough. It basically replicates itself as needed to process files at breakneck speed, and it watches your system resources on your server so that it uses them but doesn't abuse them, so it can run safely on gigantic amounts of files. So if you just add more resources to this thing, your job just goes faster. You provision your server with more RAM, then in more CPUs, we use them, right?
Absolutely.
So,
You're using what? You're using your PC. You ran almost 1,000 links a minute using your PC. Guys,
yeah,
imagine if you're running it on a server. You know, you can have a
drive.
VM set up with
Yeah.
how many RAM, how much RAM, how many cores can you assign to a VM these days? I mean, this thing can just go lightning fast.
That's right. With good server hard drives. And so anyway, it's all done. Now here's what it did. I'm going to show you some of this in detail. We talked about how many links, how many files per minute. Over here we got files, and it scanned those 43 files. It found that 20 of these files are actually files that don't need to be run because of the bitmaps, the PNGs, the JPEGs and stuff. So it tells me exactly which ones matter and which ones have need curing and so on. Now going over to the links, so that's all perfect results. Here on the links, got all these nice closed pie charts, all green, 64 cured links. Remember it inoculated 64 links before? We were in the report, the PDF, it showed us that, and here as well for inoculate. It's done. Everything was perfect. And if I click on one of these, it'll open a detailed report about it. And if I go over here and hit summary, it'll open that PDF report about the whole job, which I will bring over here. This time it was the cure report, right? Go down here, which folders was it looking in to cure files? Summary, 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 and detail. So you really have all the data, but you don't necessarily need it, but we have it there because sometimes you want that data. But we get out,
And by the way, these are all live links, right, Aaron?
Yeah, absolutely. Like these guys? Is that what you mean, like these?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so if I want
you can click on these things and they'll take you right to it if you wanted to.
That's right. If I want to open that guy, opens it up, and there he is, right out of that PDF report. What is that file? We know it's there because it's been cured, but what is it, right, Oscar?
Exactly.
So what I've done today is I've inoculated these files. I've done my micro migration. I could have even renamed the files and moved them around into all kinds of crazy subfolders. I could have put them into SharePoint. I could have put them into, we also support open text. They could have been share to share. And all I had to do was tell LinkFixer Advanced, please cure my files. And it did all the work for me, and it did it fast. And that's LinkFixer Advanced.
Now, if you're mentioning SharePoint, Aaron, and a lot of folks, of course, are going to SharePoint. What if the folks are already in SharePoint? What if they're going from an older version of SharePoint to SharePoint? I mean, can you still inoculate and migrate and cure those?
We still talk to tons of clients who are going like on-prem to SharePoint Online, and I guess sometimes SharePoint Online to on-prem, but mostly I think more in the direction of on-premises SharePoint to SharePoint Online, and Office 365, these kinds of things. And also we still work with tons of clients who are going SharePoint to SharePoint, like SharePoint Online to a different SharePoint Online. They're taking and they're separating their sites. I got one site that just got too big, and it's just like they'll break it up and turn it into a bunch of smaller sites, or they're just reorganizing their company.
That's right.
Sometimes I guess they're also going with. I don't really see guys going many to less. It's usually going to more SharePoint sites as they grow.
Right. Now, Aaron, if you still have time, or maybe a few minutes, maybe you can show us some evidence. Let's see that Word file with working links.
Let's do that. So these have now been cured, and this is that same file. Now, when I float over this guy, he's got the right path to the server. He's really there. And it's on the wrong monitor because I just love that other monitor, I guess. Here we are. I don't know. Twice in a row? Like, they just still make the same mistake twice. That's the rule. And I broke it. So this guy here, this guy, you can see that he's floating over. He's actually pointing at the right place now. And if I go down to these URLs, go here.
Look at that.
And they actually open them up.
And now they work.
Boom. And this guy has the same. That's fixed. And
that's just fantastic, Aaron. I mean, seriously, I mean, I can't think of anything else that would do this automatically like this. I mean, there's stuff out there where you can write rules, search and replace rules, scripts where you can process one file at a time. What was the link beforehand? All right, let's make a rule. So what's the rule now? What's the link now? So you got to type in all that stuff. I mean, this thing just did it automatically. There's no input, nothing.
There's nothing else like it, and it took us 20 years to get where we are today, because the amount of work that's actually involved in making something like this and making it enterprise grade is massive, right, Oscar? I mean,
Absolutely.
Because you've watched this thing come up from nothing like I have, and from zero to where we are today, where people are running this on, they're slicing their multi-year migrations up into 6 terabyte pieces that they run. Let's see if we can let's burn through. Let's see how many terabytes we can burn through this weekend, and then they'll do that 40 times in a row. You know what I mean?
We're not stopping here either.
No, we're not. We're working on all kinds of things that are all based on feedback from the field, from our users, for the things that they need the most. And that's always been our focus: is what do our clients need the most, and what can we do? Where can we put our attention, and how can we improve the product that will give the greatest improvement to the greatest number of our clients?
That's awesome. Always. Thank you very much, Aaron.
That's what we do. Yeah, thank you, Oscar. I appreciate it.
Paul?
Okay. Well, Aaron, that is one cool something that you've demonstrated to us,
Thanks, Paul.
provided for a really cool demonstration today, as always. So the topic has been covered for the most part, and I want to let anybody know that's interested in our migration tool, software utility called LinkFixer Advanced, which Aaron just touched upon. If you would like a private one-on-one demonstration, Aaron, do you have any more to do at this point?
I'm okay.
No.
I mean,
okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. So,
if anybody else on the panel has questions, but
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to just make sure. So if anybody wants a private one-on-one demonstration for you and your team, if you want to become the technology superhero or opinion leader at your company, we are glad to help you do that at no charge. I will put you on. Aaron, would you extend yourself personally, rather than, if you could, to do a demo for anybody that attends this webinar privately,
yeah, sure,
for their team? Okay, so
yeah,
I'll give you Aaron as a direct resource for you. If you need any other help, if you happen to like what you see and you're interested about pricing or something like that, that would be great. But for us, we need to listen to some of our people that are on the webinar, and I'd like to run a little poll real quick to get some feedback on basically what we've seen, and that is, I'll just leave it up for like 30 seconds or so. If you'd like pricing information, if you would like a product information sheet emailed to you, if you'd like a recording, or you'd like to schedule a live demonstration, or all the above, I'm glad to get that done for you. Okay, this is a way we can help you and bring value at no cost to you. And just as a reminder, yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was gonna say, the stuff you were saying made me think of this. What we've found, over the years, I know Oscar will agree with this, is that every migration is different. Even if that firm has done other migration slices before, they've pieced it out. Every migration is different. Every migration is unique. And
good point.
We sit down with our clients in these kinds of things, and we really find out what their timelines are, what their goals are, and try to do our best to help them for their exact situation. So it's good to do these things one-on-one. Like right now, it's good to learn that this tool exists and that we're here and that we care about links. But the fact is, a one-on-one is where it's at, and that's how you really know. We'll help look around corners with you, and you really know what to expect if we can be of help as far as that goes.
That's a fantastic and very salient point, Aaron. When you work with us on a one-on-one basis or with your team, we can speak to your specific use case, and we have an entire team of migration professionals here that will help you do this. And speaking of, I'd like just to run one more poll here. And what kind of data migration are you planning? Are you planning a SharePoint migration, an Office 365 migration, server migration, cloud migration, server restructuring? Just if you'd let me know, that would help us tremendously as well. We really spend a lot of time listening to our clients, and you wouldn't believe the wonderful customer support you would get through the entire life cycle as a client here at LinkTek. It is truly phenomenal, and I've never in my life seen better customer support anywhere. We really take personal care of you. And I'll just leave this poll up for another 20 seconds per se, because that information is quite valuable. Okay, and on that note, I think we're about good there. I'll show you the results there. We see we have a lot of people. The majority here are doing SharePoint migrations. Okay.
Yep.
And obviously the next best one is, similarly populated one is cloud migration. So
SharePoint, yeah.
Yep. Okay, where 365 and server restructure are coming next. Now, on that note, for anybody that might be interested in the LinkFixer Advanced tool, don't be shy, get a demonstration, and you may not need it right now, but you may need it for a project that's coming up. We're glad to give you that data in advance. There's no pressure. We're glad to be of value. Okay, so we welcome engaging with you way ahead of your migration, so you can have the costs planned for in your budget, and you can have the data that you need. And I encourage you to go to linktek.com, download that free link reporter tool, and start getting a little flavor for how it works. And we will even help you work with that tool. So you have our help. Our help is yours. Thank you for joining us today. I want to thank all of our panelists, Mr. Aaron Smith, our presenter, Oscar Albornoz, Co-Executive Vice President here at LinkTek, and our host, Salvatore Salamone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
All right. Thanks, everybody. And I hope you enjoy your day.